Let's have a look at the announcement today. This will only play for a short amount of time. Oh, see, when I do this by myself, I can't reach for the other side of the desk. Can I move that a little bit? Oh, sheesh. Everything's too far away from each other now. Oh, we'll see how this goes. This is just a little bit off my news, just 60 seconds showing Donald Trump with his, you know what? Okay, here's a prediction, right? I haven't seen this yet, but here's my prediction. I bet you $5 that you will see supporters of Donald Trump putting white plasters on their ears as a sign of support. You heard it here first. I bet you it'll happen. Wait and see. Right, this is Donald Trump arriving at the RNC today.
Arriving on stage to what's become his own personal anthem. The former president was in a room full of support.
He's a very strange man. And look, you know, I think that we give due respect to the history-making horrific event that happened Sunday New Zealand time. That doesn't mean we can't go, I don't understand this man's face. He doesn't seem to be able to just stand there and receive applause. It's the smirk, it's the sight, it's very bizarre.
The crowd echoing his words from the aftermath of this weekend's shooting. The bandaged former president didn't speak. He's scheduled to do so later in the convention, but he took his seat in the stands alongside his family and the man who will be his running mate for the White House.
Yep.
Senator JD Vance.
So there you go. JD Vance has been decided. It's been that's what's going to happen. Now there are some problems with JD Vance. There are lots of problems with JD Vance. One of them is he has had quite a long history of hating Trump, but it is worse than that. Let's have a look at a little bit of JD Vance's best ofs. Here's a little 30-second scroll, I think, from MSNBC.
Well, you know, Senator, this is an evolution, and I know you've been asked about this before, about past comments that you've made about Donald Trump. You've said, I'm a never Trump guy, never liked him. Terrible candidate, idiot if you voted for him, might be America's Hitler, might be a cynical a-hole, cultural heroine, noxious and reprehensible.
I was wrong about Donald Trump. I didn't think he was going to be a good president, Brett. He was a great president.
And we've got a few more for you. So here's this first clip is JD Vance on Donald Trump.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. It makes you think that at a fundamental level, this is sort of a he said, she said, right? And at the end of the day, do you believe Donald Trump, who always tells the truth? Just kidding. Or do you believe that woman on that tape?
I cannot stand Trump because I think he's a fraud. Well, I think he's a total fraud that is exploiting these people, who is a total fraud.
Like you said, I agree with you on Trump because I don't think that he's the person. I don't think he actually cares about folks.
So as a conservative who thinks that Trump does not have the answers and isn't qualified to be president, what are you going to do this election, if you don't mind saying?
My current plan is to vote either third party or, as I joke to my wife, I might write in my dog, because that's about as good as it seems. But, you know, I think there's a chance, if I feel like Trump has a really good chance of winning, that I might have to hold my nose and vote for Hillary Clinton.
Could you imagine Donald Trump having on his ticket someone who thought they might vote for Hillary Clinton? The animosity between those two. Oh, my goodness.
Ultimately, I think I'll probably vote third party. I might vote for this new guy who I really like, Evan McMullin, who I actually met the other day. But I think that I'm going to vote third party because I can't stomach Trump. I think that he's noxious and is leading the white working class to a very dark place. He's leading our political discourse to a very negative place. Yeah. If Trump is elected president,
the thing is, he's right, isn't he, about all of this? He's correct in his assessment, yet now he'll flip 180 because it serves his purpose.
He has to be a much different president than he was a candidate. As a candidate, he was fundamentally divisive, arrogant.
All right, I got another round for you now. So those were his views on Donald Trump. These are his views on the abortion issue. And this may actually, now look, we were very clear last night. It feels like it's Donald Trump's to lose, although it's, 4 months out. We'll wait and see. But at the moment, with the events of the last 48 hours, where he may get pushback is still the Roe versus Wade. And this is JD Vance's thoughts around abortion, and it's pretty horrific.
I think two wrongs don't make a right. At the end of the day, we're talking about an unborn.
The two wrongs, by the way, are being raped or being the victim of incest. That's one wrong. And the other one is aborting the fetus. Those are the two wrongs he's equating.
Baby. What kind of society do we want to have? A society that looks at unborn babies as inconveniences to be discarded?
Should a woman be forced to carry a child to term after she has been the victim of incest or rape?
Look, my view on this has been very clear, and I think the question betrays a certain presumption that's wrong. It's not whether a woman should be forced to bring a child to term, it's whether a child should be allowed to live, even though the circumstances of that child's birth are somehow inconvenient or a problem to the society. The question really to me is about the baby.
Inconvenient or a problem to society if a female is raped. And the last one, I believe, starts off with his views now and do link into things like Project 2025. So you've had the pre-Trump, never Trumper. You've had the views on where he sits on abortion. And now this is sort of the current views. And I've seen the word bootlicker in the chat quite a few times. That part of JD Vance.
Project 2025. I reviewed a lot of it. There's some good ideas in there, Rob.
I tend to think that we should seize the institutions of the left and turn them against the left, right? We need like a de-Bathification program, but like a de-wokeification program in the United States, right? So like, let me give you a couple examples. So one of the things I've always been very sympathetic to is this idea that we don't have a real constitutional republic anymore. What we have is an administrative state, right? The administrative state controls everything, right? So to the point that like when Donald Trump wins, he can't even sometimes get his people in core positions of authority in the administrative estate. It's like, well, do we have a constitutional republic? The founding fathers actually created a very powerful chief executive, a very powerful president. But if he can't,
otherwise in other cultures known as a king. So he's basically talking about the president having immunity and absolute power. Keep listening.
Even fire the people in his own administration, like, is this really a successful republic? So a lot of conservatives have said we should deconstruct the administrative state. We should basically eliminate the administrative state. And I'm sympathetic to that project. But another option is that we should just seize the administrative state for our own purposes. We should fire all of the people. I mean, I think Trump is going to run again in 2024. I think he'll probably win again in 2024. And he'll win by a margin such that he will be the president of the United States in January of 2025. I think that what Trump should do, like if I was giving him one piece of advice, fire every single mid-level bureaucrat, every civil servant in the administrative state, replace them with our people. And when the courts, because you will get taken to court, and then when the courts stop you, stand before the country like Andrew Jackson did and say the Chief Justice has made his ruling, now let him enforce it. Because this is, I think, a constitutional level crisis.
So there you go. President should do whatever he wants. And look, this has been the fear for Donald Trump the whole time. It's like he gets his lackeys in and around him, and but that's JD Vance, right? Like, I don't know the word to use which puts it on the serious nature of his views around abortion. His lackeyness from going from a never Trumper to basically saying, when they elect President Trump, he should be able to do whatever he wants, however he wants, and then onwards and upwards. So that's the man. And remember as well, I mean, it's probably not appropriate to talk about a president passing away now, but a 77-year-old man may pass from natural causes. That's average life expectancy is about 79, I think, or 80 in America. So there's every chance that you're looking at then the next president of the United States of America. Meaning if something should happen to Trump midterm, should he win. And those are the views in the White House that could be sitting in the Oval Office making those decisions. Something to think about. The other thing I wanted for us to show you, this is more about the events of the last 36 hours. And it does sort of involve JD Vance. But I don't know if you've been seeing it on your social medias, but I've been seeing it on my social medias about the violence from the left, the violence from the left, the violence from the left. When, the shooter was a registered Republican. Yes, as a 17-year-old, he gave $15 to a Democratic cause, but he was a registered Republican who all of the people who knew him at school when they were doing thought exercises about politics, he always went to the conservative side. So I don't know how they get the leftists so violent. One of the ways they're getting there is talking about the rhetoric. I know, you're spitting your tea out. It's a double take. The rhetoric of the left leading to what's happened. So let's have a look at a little bit of that, because this is important for us to know, and it's important for us to be able to push back about should we need to. So I watched Piers Morgan's stuff today, and he had on Facts Don't Care About Feelings, Ben Shapiro, but he plays a piece, a mashup, I think he calls it, of the left, quote unquote, the left, referencing Donald Trump as Hitler. And he says it, the left have to stop calling Donald Trump Hitler. All right, I'll play it first and then we'll continue on. So this is Piers Morgan's evidence for how all of the left call Donald Trump Hitler.
I've got a mashup here of people on the left calling Trump Hitler. Let's take a look.
All right, people on the left calling Trump Hitler.
Many are openly comparing Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Trump's been compared to the German
that was many are comparing, right? That wasn't him saying it.
dictator by some throughout his presidential campaign.
That person's not doing it.
Is Donald Trump really a fascist?
Maria Chappelle Nadal posted this picture to Twitter yesterday. It appears to compare Donald Trump to Hitler.
Former President Trump doubles down on a phrase many say he borrowed from Hitler.
President borrowed a phrase from Hitler, necessarily comparing him to Hitler.
Fantasyland decided to take a page out of Adolf Hitler's playbook last week.
Yes, Donald Trump took his Hitler cosplay to the next level.
Do you want to clear the air because you think you're being unfavorably compared to Donald Trump?
A unified Reich? That's Hitler's language. That's not America's.
New York's Daily News ran this front page earlier this week. Trump is Hitler.
According to the Washington Post, Trump has long toyed with the language of fascists.
Former President Donald Trump allegedly praised Adolf Hitler, saying the Nazi leader had, quote, done some good things.
So in all of that, yes, there were some people who said he is Hitler. Most of that was saying things like they're comparing him to Hitler. Some are. He's using the language of Hitler. There was some in that. Now, there was one person in there that you may not know, Maria Chappelle Nadal, or Chappelle Nadal. She used to be a politician. According to this, she hasn't been a politician since 2021. Because that's also really important to remember. Let's just give baby his bottle, and let's just say that there's a comparison, putting him in Hitler's camp. Who said it in all of those clips? Commentators, comedians, shock jocks, podcasters, announcers, right? People who are talking about what people are talking about. But what isn't there in there? There's no politicians doing it. The point they're making is if you compare someone to Hitler for long enough, a deranged person might go, I'm going to take them out, because of course you'll take out Hitler. I have to ask you this question, people. If you knew someone was a paedophile or a groomer, couldn't you make the same argument? If you convince someone for long enough that such and such is a groomer or such and such is a paedophile, isn't that exactly the same thing? You've just seen Piers Morgan's best case scenario mashup for people comparing Donald Trump to Hitler. I'm now going to play you something we played last night. And guess who's doing the same from the right? It's not just the commentators and stuff. It's people in Congress. It's people in the Senate. You know who else it is? It's the presumptive, is that the right word? Potential deputy vice president of the United States of America, JD Vance. So you've just seen the left be represented by commentators, podcasters, comedians, announcers. And now let's see the right and how they portray the left with words that, if taken by a deranged person, could lead to violence.
There have been a number of Republicans who, without skipping a beat, have exploited these events to attack Joe Biden or the Democrats. Mike Collins, a Republican lawmaker from Georgia, tweeted, "Joe Biden sent the order." Marjorie Taylor Greene wrote, "We are in a battle between good and evil. The Democrats are the party of pedophiles, murdering the innocent, unborn, violence and bloody, meaningless and endless wars."
Pedophiles, murderous, endless wars. Surely a deranged person could take those words and go, we must do something to stop these people at all costs. Of course we want to stop a pedophile. You know, of course, we have to do that.
The Democrat Party is flat out evil, and yesterday they tried to murder President Trump. JD Vance wrote, "Today is not just some isolated incident. The central premise of the Biden campaign is that President Donald Trump is an authoritarian fascist who must be stopped at all costs."
Hang on. Piers Morgan just put up an issue that people were calling Donald Trump a fascist, like podcasters, comedians, and announcers. Here is Donald Trump's running partner calling Joe Biden a fascist. I thought this was what led to the potential shooting of Donald Trump, when all those comedians and podcasters and citizens, but what if the people in the halls of power are actually saying those things?
That rhetoric led directly to President Trump's attempted assassination. And of course, Lauren Boebert posted this.
I do believe that Joe Biden is responsible.
What you'll enjoy most from this, people, is her eyes darting off when she has to read her script again because she can't speak a straight sentence. You watch her eyes shoot off to the left of the screen as I look at reading the script.
For the shooting today, Kyle Clark, an innocent supporter of President Trump, someone who loved President Trump and was there exercising their right to support him, lost their life today. Everyone who has called him a fascist, everyone who has called him a threat to democracy, who said that he should be put in a bullseye, as Joe Biden said, they need to have some very deep reflection tonight before another tragedy like this takes place.
There you go. So everyone who called him things like Hitler and she didn't say Hitler, but a fascist, and even though Piers Morgan did his best to try and smear the left, calling him Hitler, but didn't use any examples of politicians, there is certainly one person who did call Donald Trump Hitler, and that's his fucking running mate. JD Vance called him America's Hitler. So if we're looking at everybody who's used these kinds of words against Donald Trump as somewhat responsible for what happened to Donald Trump, or with the shooting, then JD Vance has to be on that list by nature because he called him America's Hitler. These are the things we need to know, people. These are the things we need to know.